You think you know what justice looks like? Courts, trials, evidence, defense attorneys. Now strip that away. Strip away every protection, every right, every mercy. What remains is vengeance dressed in legal robes. Northern India, 1857. The British Empire faces its largest colonial uprising. Over 50,000 sepoys turn their guns on officers. Civilians join. Delhi falls. Kanpur erupts. Lucknow holds by a thread. And when the British retake control, they do not restore order. They unleash a punishment machine that turns entire regions into killing fields, blowing rebels from cannons, forcing Hindus to lick blood from massacre sites before hanging them, burning villages with families inside. No trials, no evidence, no mercy. This is not war. This is calculated terror disguised as military justice. And the methods they used were far more brutal than anything taught in history class. The cartridges arrive in February 1857. Enfield rifles, new weapon, better range. But there is a problem. The paper cartridges are sealed with grease. Soldiers must bite them open to load. Rumor spreads fast through the Bengal army barracks. The grease is animal fat, cow for Hindus, pig for Muslims. Touch it with your mouth and you violate everything you believe. The East India Company denies it, then admits it, then offers beeswax substitutes. Too late. Trust is gone. The sepoys have served for decades. They have conquered territories for the company, expanded the empire from Bengal to Punjab, and this is how they are repaid, with cartridges designed to destroy their souls. March 29, 1857. Barrackpore Garrison, near Calcutta. 29-year-old Mangal Pandey walks onto the parade ground. He is a sepoy in the 34th Bengal Native Infantry, 5'7", Brahmin caste, 8 years of service. He carries a loaded musket and a sword. He paces in front of the guard room, calling out to his fellow soldiers. From biting these cartridges, we shall become infidels. Come out, the Europeans are here. He is agitated, some say intoxicated with bhang. He threatens to shoot the first European he sees. Sergeant Major James Hewson arrives, orders Jamadar Ishwari Prasad to arrest Pandey. Prasad refuses. I cannot arrest him alone. Lieutenant Henry Baugh rides up on horseback. Pandey fires. The horse falls. Pandey slashes at Baugh with his sword. Wounds him. Wounds Hewson. Other sepoys watch, armed, on duty. They do nothing. General John Hersey gallops onto the scene with his 2 sons, draws his pistol, threatens to shoot the first man who disobeys. The quarter guard falls in, moves toward Pandey. Pandey puts the musket barrel to his chest, pulls the trigger with his toe. The shot wounds him, does not kill him. He is arrested. Court-martial convenes April 6th. 2 charges, mutiny, violence against superior officers. The trial is swift. Pandey speaks. I acted alone. In the name of India, sentence is death by hanging, scheduled for April 18th. But the British authorities fear waiting, fear a larger revolt if they delay. They move the execution date forward 10 days, April 8th, 1857. Barrackpore. All British and Indian units are assembled. Mangal Pandey is hanged before the assembled regiments. He refuses to make any disclosures. The Delhi Gazette reports it has a most disheartening effect upon the sepoy regiments. Jamadar Ishwari Prasad is hanged separately on April 21st. He expresses regret, urges the sepoys to obey their officers. Sepoy Sheikh Paltu, who helped subdue Pandey, is promoted to Havildar, decorated with the Indian Order of Merit, then murdered in an isolated part of the cantonment before the regiment disbands. On May 6th, the entire 34th Bengal Native Infantry is disbanded with disgrace. 7 companies, stripped of uniforms, collective punishment for failing to restrain a mutinous soldier. If you value documented colonial history and factual accounts of imperial brutality like this, subscribe. It is the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you are hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the 1858 parliamentary blue books laid before the House of Commons, which documented company officer brutality, and the East India Torture Report of 1855 to 1857, published by Cambridge University Press in Jill Bender's study, The 1857 Indian Uprising and the British Empire, detailing how Britain destroyed villages and hanged Muslims with pork in their mouths and forced Hindus to lick bloodstains at execution sites. Now back to the information. May 10th, 1857. Meerut. 85 sepoys refuse the Enfield cartridges. They are court-martialed, given prison terms ranging from 5 to 10 years, shackled in irons, paraded before their regiments in chains. Their comrades watch. The next evening, the sepoys rise. They storm the jail. Free the prisoners, shoot their British officers, kill women, kill children. By morning, they march 36 miles to Delhi. The local garrison joins them. By nightfall, they restore the aged Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar to symbolic power. He is 82, nearly blind, a poet. He does not want this role, but the sepoys force his hand. The rebellion spreads. Agra, Allahabad, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi. Peasants join. Artisans join. Displaced Zamindars join. This is not just a military mutiny. This is rage against decades of annexation, the doctrine of lapse that stole kingdoms, land revenue systems that destroyed farmers, courts that favored company men, taxes that bled provinces dry. The uprising consumes northern and central India. June 3rd, 1857. Lieutenant Colonel James George Smith Neal arrives in Benares with his regiment, the 1st Madras Fusiliers, European troops. Neal is 47, Scottish, 29 years of company service. He has served in Burma, commanded Turkish contingent in Crimea. He is known for strict discipline, zero tolerance. He arrives to find a Sikh regiment in the 37th Native Infantry in mutiny. They charge the British guns 3 times, driven back with grape shot each time, then they break and flee. Brigadier General Ponsonby suffers sunstroke. Neal assumes command, confirmed as Brigadier General. 9 days later, he sets out for Allahabad. A handful of Europeans are trapped in the fort. The 6th Native Infantry mutinied June 5th, massacred their officers, 14 dead. The survivors hold the fort, barely. Neal fights his way through intense heat and opposition from June 6th to June 15th. At Allahabad, he orders immediate hangings. No trials, no inquiries, but one of his officers records it. Neal permits troops to summarily execute non-combatants without due process, burn their houses. Entire villages beside the Grand Trunk Road are torched, inhabitants hanged, men, women, children. Neal's methods are ruthless and horrible. His own Sikh forces at Jaunpur revolt upon witnessing the massacres. They cannot stomach what they see. Neal does not care. He writes that he will make an example that will never be forgotten. Fatehpur, a town between Allahabad and Kanpur. A mob attacks and kills the local British population. Neal uses this as pretext. Every village beside the road must burn. Every inhabitant must hang, indiscriminate. No distinction between rebel and innocent. Lieutenant Charles Griffiths will later write that after Delhi is recaptured, dead bodies lie in almost every street, rotting in the burning sun. This is the standard. Villages become mounds of burning embers, ashes, half-baked human skeletons sticking out. An officer protests. Neal ignores him. The British public back home reads sanitized reports. They see Neal as a hero, a brave, resolute, self-reliant soldier, the man who stemmed the torrent of rebellion. They do not see the villages. They do not count the bodies. They do not hear the screams. Kanpur, June 4th, 1857. The Sepoys mutiny. General Hugh Wheeler commands the British garrison. He is 67, 54 years of service in India. Married to an Indian woman, speaks multiple languages, popular with his sepoys. He trusts them. He is wrong. Leading the mutineers is Nana Sahib, Wheeler's neighbor. His supposed friend, Nana is bitter. His father was a Maratha prince. Received a British pension. When his father died, the pension stopped. The territory was annexed. Nana lost his inheritance, lost his income. Now he commands the siege. Wheeler has armed him, given him the garrison ammunition store, thinking Nana would defend the British. Instead, Nana turns every gun on the entrenchment. The siege lasts 3 weeks. June heat, over 100 degrees. 240 men, 375 women and children, packed into inadequate barracks. Artillery fire day and night. Water runs low, food nearly gone, medical supplies exhausted. Disease spreads. Many go insane. Wheeler's son is decapitated by artillery fire. His head rolls across the compound. June 25th. Nana offers terms. Safe passage to Allahabad by boat. Wheeler has 3 days of food left. He agrees, provided they keep small arms and evacuate in daylight. Morning of June 27th. The British leave the entrenchment, march to Sadi Charagat on the Ganges. Boats are waiting. Provided by Nana, they board, families, wounded, officers, around 400 people. As they push off, firing erupts from both banks. Sepoys positioned with clear lines of fire. The boats are set ablaze with red-hot charcoal. Most remain stuck in the mud. The British try to push them free. Rebel cavalry rides into the water, finishes the survivors. By evening, almost all the men are dead. 120 women and children are captured, taken back to Kanpur. First to Savada House, then to the Bibighar, the House of the Ladies, a building 40 feet by 50 feet, divided into 3 parts, 2,000 square feet total. In July heat, 180 women and children are crammed inside. Later, refugees from Fatehgarh join them. 4 men, 200 women and children total. They are placed under the care of Hussaini Khanum, a concubine servant. She is brutal, slaps the women, forces them to strip, makes them do menial labor, humiliates them daily. July 15th. Word reaches Nana. General Henry Havelock's relief force has defeated his troops. They are advancing on Kanpur. Nana decides to leave no witnesses, orders the execution of all hostages. The sepoys refuse. They will not kill women and children. Nana's men find 5 locals, 2 Muslim butchers, 2 Hindu peasants, 1 bodyguard. Armed with knives and hatchets, they enter the Bibighar. The screams last hours. When it ends, 206 women and children are dead. Some are still alive, hiding under corpses. Sweepers throw all the bodies down a well in the compound. 50 feet deep. No one survives. July 16th, morning, Havelock's forces retake Kanpur. They approach the Bibighar. The crowd falls away. Magistrate John Shearer enters first, reports the atrocity to Havelock. Soldiers stream in to see. Many knew the victims personally. Officers lose control. Discipline breaks down. Soldiers raid the toddy go-downs, get drunk, then they rampage through Kanpur, looting, burning, killing. The city bleeds. But this is just the beginning. What comes next is systematic, calculated, approved from the top. Neil arrives in Kanpur, takes command of the city while Havelock pushes toward Lucknow. Neil sees the Bibigar, sees the well, sees the bloodstains. He issues an order dated July 25th. The well will be filled and covered to form their grave. But the house stained with their blood will not be cleaned by Europeans. Neil has determined that every stain of that innocent blood shall be cleared up and wiped out by the miscreants themselves, selected according to their rank, caste, and degree of guilt. This is not about cleanliness. This is about caste pollution. Brahmins are rounded up. Many have nothing to do with the massacre. They are brought to the Bibigar, forced to their knees, made to lick the dried blood from the floor, while European soldiers whip them with cat o' nine tails. Young ensigns taking turns with the whip. The victims collapse, blood in their mouths. Their caste destroyed in their own minds. Then they are dragged out and hanged. No trial, no evidence, just blood and rope. Some prisoners are forced to clean the blood with their hands before execution. Others are made to strip naked, smear beef and pork fat on their bodies. Hindus defiled with beef, Muslims with pork, then hanged or tied to cannons. This is the innovation, the signature brutality, blowing from guns. The practice is old. Mughals used it in the 17th century. Portuguese used it earlier. Babur's son Humayun blew 100 Afghan prisoners from guns in 1526. The British East India Company adopted it in 1760. Found it more deterrent than flogging, more public. More humane than flogging to death? That is what they told themselves. But there is another reason. The method destroys the body completely, prevents proper funeral rites. For Hindus and Muslims, this extends punishment beyond death. The British know this. They use it deliberately. The condemned is tied to the muzzle of a cannon, either strapped across the barrel or lashed in front of it. Hands bound behind, back against the cold metal. A round shot is loaded. When the gun fires, the body explodes. Arms fly one direction, legs another. Torso disintegrates. Pieces scatter across hundreds of feet. Birds circle overhead, swoop down to catch flesh mid-air. Dogs rush in to devour what lands. Spectators face the guns. Sometimes they are hit by bone fragments, flesh. At Firozpur in 1857, a mass execution goes wrong. Orders say use blank cartridges. Some guns are loaded with grape shot instead. Spectators are hit. Some lose limbs. Soldiers not withdrawn far enough are struck by flying body parts. The executions continue anyway. The numbers are documented. From May to September 1857 in Peshawar Valley, Punjab, 523 executions are recorded. 459 shot by musketry. 20 hanged, 44 blown from guns. 4 of those 44 are executed for desertion, not mutiny. In Agra, July to November, 78 receive capital sentences. 2 are commuted to imprisonment, 4 blown from guns. In Indore, 393 sepoys officially punished, 32 executed, 21 blown from guns. These are official statistics. They do not count the villages. They do not count Neil's Road. They do not count the mass graves. Historian estimates put the civilian toll in Aoud alone at 150,000 killed during the war, 100,000 of them civilians. The capture of Delhi, Allahabad, Kanpur, Lucknow by British forces are followed by general massacres. Bodies left in streets for days. The smell unbearable, the sight worse. Torture is not limited to executions. The 1855 to 1857 torture report laid before the House of Commons documents systematic practices, searing with hot irons, dipping in wells and rivers until the victim is half suffocated, squeezing the testicles, putting pepper and red chilies in the eyes, introducing them into the private parts of men and women, prevention of sleep, nipping the flesh with pincers, suspension from tree branches, imprisonment in rooms used for storing lime. One case from 1856 involves 14 villagers from Periapolium brought before a tax collector on July 27th. They arrive at 8 in the morning, immediately subjected to restraint. They stand in the burning sun, bodies bent forward toward their knees, a 12-pound stone placed on each back near the neck. A surgeon consulted later says, this is like a severe blow to the spinal cord. The heat, the blood rushing to the head, the weight crushing down. For 14 hours they stand like this, from 8 in the morning until nearly 10 at night. Men pricking their thighs with sticks the entire time. No food, no water. One old man dies days later, a sum he owed. 2 annas, 10 pice. 5 pence farthing. 5 pence farthing worth of tax, and he dies for it. If you value documented historical research that uncovers these buried truths, subscribe. This is how we continue this work. Also, comment your thoughts from wherever you are watching. This script is researched using primary sources, including the Parliamentary Blue Books of 1858, RareHistoricalPhotos.com's detailed analysis published April 25, 2024 on execution by canon methods, and Cambridge scholar Pramod Nair's 1857 reader documenting these judicial practices with archival evidence. Now back to the brutality. September 18th, 1857. The final march on Lucknow begins. General James Outram commands. Havelock is second. Neil leads the 1st Brigade. They fight through intense heat, rain, 3,000 troops. The assault opens September 23rd, Alambagh. Neil recklessly exposes himself at the head of his brigade. September 25th, the great attack on Lucknow itself. Neil's fury is unstoppable. His men enter the city. Then a shot. Neil falls, bullet to the head at Kaz Bazar, dead at 47. His widow receives the rank and precedence of a knight commander of the Bathwife. Memorials erected in Lucknow and Ayr, his name given to a cantonment, an island in the Andamans. The British lionize him, brave, resolute, self-reliant, the man who saved the empire. In India, he is remembered differently. The butcher of Allahabad. 1927, Madras. Indian nationalists demand removal of his statue on Mount Road, led by the Madras Mahajana Sabha, the Indian National Congress Provincial Committee. They demonstrate, thousands march. The statue is too imposing. 14 feet high, bronze, standing in a commanding attitude. Commissioned by Lord Canning, sculpted by Matthew Noble, funded by public subscription. 18,953 rupees. A symbol of British pride, a reminder of Indian humiliation. The protests continue for years. Finally, in 1937, the statue comes down. Delhi falls in September 1857 after a week of vicious street fighting. 9,000 British troops, 1/3 European, 2/3 Sikhs, Punjabi Muslims, Gurkhas. Artillery breaches the walls, blows in Kashmir Gate, then it is house to house, room to room. When the smoke clears, the city is ransacked, looting, killing, an orgy of violence. Bahadur Shah Zafar is captured. His 3 sons are executed. Mirza Mughal, Mirza Khizr Sultan, Mirza Abu Bakr shot without trial. Their bodies displayed publicly. The emperor is tried, found guilty, exiled to Rangoon. He dies there in 1862, blind, broken, writing poetry about his lost city. With the fall of Delhi, the rebellion begins to collapse. Gwalior falls June 20th, 1858. The last major rebel stronghold. Peace is officially declared July 8th, 1859. But the killing does not stop immediately. Rebels are hunted for months. Tatya Tope, who commanded at Kanpur, leads a guerrilla campaign, earns grudging British respect. Finally captured by General Napier's troops. Hanged April 18th, 1859. Nana Sahib disappears, his fate unknown. Some say he fled to Nepal, died there. Others say he was killed trying to escape. No body ever found, no grave. Just questions. The aftermath reshapes India. November 1st, 1858. The British Crown assumes direct rule. The East India Company is dissolved after 258 years. Queen Victoria issues a proclamation, promises to respect Indian religions, promises equal treatment under law, promises no further annexations. These promises are variably kept. The army is reorganized. European troops increased, Indian regiments carefully balanced. No single group given too much power. Sikhs, Gurkhas, Punjabi Muslims recruited heavily, seen as loyal. Bengalis sidelined, seen as seditious. The ratio shifts. Before 1857, the Bengal army had 86,000 men, 12,000 British. After, the balance changes. More British, more martial races, less trust. The administrative machinery expands. More British officials, fewer Indian ones. The Indian civil service opens to Indians in theory. In practice, exams held only in London. In English, few Indians can compete. Racism becomes more entrenched. Before 1857, some British men married Indian women, learned languages, respected customs. After 1857, this ends. Separate clubs, separate neighborhoods, separate lives. The Memsahibs arrive. British women insisting on proper British society. Distance grows. The Indian Councils Act of 1861 creates legislative councils. Indians can be nominated, but they have no real power. No vote on budgets. No control over policy. Window dressing. The universities expand. Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, creating an English-educated elite. This elite will eventually demand independence, but not yet. Not for decades. The violence of 1857 creates lasting trauma. British see it as proof Indians are treacherous, barbaric, cannot be trusted. Indians see British hypocrisy. They promise civilization. They deliver cannons. They promise law. They deliver lynching. They promise Christianity. They practice cruelty. The massacre at Kanpur becomes British obsession. Remember Kanpur. The war cry echoes through every subsequent battle, every execution, every punishment. But they forget what came before. The annexations, the land grabs, the humiliations, the cartridges. The British narrative is simple. Faithful sepoys turned treacherous, butchered innocent women and children, required harsh punishment to restore order. The Indian narrative is complex. Decades of exploitation exploded. A fight for dignity, for religion, for land, for justice. Brutally crushed by superior technology and ruthless force, both narratives are incomplete. Both contain truth. Both contain lies. The judicial system after 1857 becomes formalized. Courts established. Procedures written. Appeals processes created. On paper, it looks fair. In practice, British judges judge Indian defendants. British law applied to Indian customs. British standards determine Indian guilt. Conviction rates for Indians accused of crimes against British are near 100%. Conviction rates for British accused of crimes against Indians are near zero. The 1855 torture report reveals this. Company officers accused of brutality are shielded by extended appeals, rarely face consequences. The system protects its own. 1857 teaches the British a lesson. Not about justice, about control. Never again will they let Indians come so close to overthrowing them. Never again will they trust Indian soldiers with too much power. Never again will they hesitate to use maximum force. The reprisals after 1857 far outweigh the original violence. The British admit this privately. Publicly, they justify everything. The ends justify the means. Order must be restored. Examples must be made. The empire must be preserved. The photographs begin appearing in 1858. Felice Beato arrives in India. Italian-British photographer. He captures Delhi, Lucknow, Kanpur. His photographs show ruins, empty streets, scattered bones. The Sikandar Palace at Lucknow, where 2,000 rebels were slaughtered by the 93rd Highlanders and 4th Punjab Regiment. Beato photographs the courtyard, skeletons still visible, scattered across the ground. These images travel to Britain, to galleries, to publications. They sanitize the violence, make it picturesque, romantic even. The ruins of empire, the cost of rebellion. The photographs do not show the executions, do not show the whippings, do not show the blood being licked from floors, do not show the bodies exploding from cannons. Those images stay in memory, in trauma, in stories passed down through generations. The memory of 1857 diverges. In Britain, it becomes the Indian Mutiny, a rebellion of ungrateful sepoys, quickly suppressed, order restored. In India, it becomes the first war of independence, the first mass uprising against colonial rule, brutally crushed but not forgotten. 127 years later, October 5th, 1984, the Indian government issues a commemorative postage stamp. Mangal Pandey, the man who fired the first shot, the man who refused the cartridges, the man hanged at Barrackpore, his face on a stamp. A martyr, a hero, a beginning. In Barrackpore, a park is dedicated to him, a statue erected, a memorial. Where the gallows once stood, gardens now grow. Where blood soaked the parade ground, children play. But the memory remains. The stories remain. The trauma remains. The well at Bibikar is filled, covered, a memorial built over it. The British erect a statue, an angel mourning over the well, inscribed with names, women, children, the innocents. In 1947, India gains independence. The memorial is dismantled. The angel removed. The names erased. A different memorial erected. No names, just a plaque, remembering suffering on all sides, acknowledging complexity, refusing simple narratives. The site remains. The history remains. The questions remain. The massacre ghat on the Ganges is renamed, now called Nana Rao Ghat, where 400 British died on June 27, 1857, where the boats burned, where the cavalry rode into the water. A temple stands there now, small, white. The river has changed course, drifted a kilometer away, as if the Ganges itself wants distance from the blood. The Ghat is quiet. Tourists rarely come. The history is too heavy, too contested, too painful. Modern scholarship tries to piece together accurate numbers. How many died in 1857? How many were combatants? How many civilians? The estimates vary wildly. Some say over 50,000 sepoys died or were executed. Some say 100,000 civilians in Oudh alone. Some say hundreds of thousands across northern India. Famine followed the fighting. Disease followed the famine. Crops burned. Villages destroyed. Livestock slaughtered. Trade disrupted. The death toll from direct violence is high. The death toll from indirect consequences is higher. The British never conduct a full accounting. They declare victory. Declare order restored. Move on. The Indian dead are not counted systematically, not memorialized officially. They exist in family stories, village memories, songs, poems, oral histories passed down through generations. The names lost, the numbers lost. The individuals reduced to statistics, to categories, rebel, mutineer, insurgent, their reasons erased. Their humanity denied. The torture practices documented in the 1855 to 57 report do not end in 1857. They continue, differently, more hidden, more deniable. But they continue. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919. General Reginald Dyer orders troops to fire on unarmed protesters. Trapped in a walled garden. No way out. 1,500 rounds fired. Official count. 379 dead. Unofficial count much higher. Dyer is removed from command. Receives no criminal charges. Returns to Britain a hero to many. The House of Lords raises money for him. The British public sends him thousands of pounds. A thank you for doing your duty. The patterns repeat. Rebellion, repression, justification. The 1857 playbook used again and again. The difference is photography, journalism, telegraphs, communications speed up. Hiding becomes harder, but not impossible. The British are skilled at narrative control. at framing, at justification. They are the civilizers. The others are the savages. This narrative holds for decades, until it does not. Until the colonized begin writing their own histories, their own narratives, their own truths. The legal framework created after 1857 lasts decades. Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, Indian Evidence Act, all written by British lawyers, based on British common law. Applied to Indian society, some provisions are progressive for their time, codifying laws, reducing arbitrary punishment, guaranteeing some due process. Other provisions are repressive. Sedition laws, preventive detention, censorship, laws designed to prevent another 1857. To criminalize dissent, to control speech, to monitor movements. These laws outlast the British. Independent India inherits them, uses them, debates them. Some are amended, some are struck down, some remain on the books. The colonial legal architecture shapes post-colonial India. The courts, the procedures, the precedents, the language, all inherited, all contested, all evolving. The memory wars continue. Was 1857 a mutiny or a war of independence? Were the British restoring order or committing atrocities? Were the rebels freedom fighters or murderers? Were the British victims or perpetrators? The answer is yes, all of the above. History is not simple. 1857 is not simple. The violence was real on both sides. The causes were complex. The consequences were profound. The British used judicial language to justify extrajudicial violence. Courts-martial that were not courts. Trials that were not trials. Sentences that were predetermined. Executions that were spectacles. This is not justice. This is power, naked power, dressed in legal robes, using legal language, but fundamentally about control, about terror, about sending a message. Rebel against the empire, and this is what happens. Your body is blown apart. Your family is shamed. Your village is burned. Your memory is erased. This is the price of resistance. But the resistance did not stop. 1857 became a reference point, a moment when Indians almost succeeded, when the empire almost fell. It took another 90 years, but independence came, not through another armed rebellion, through different methods: civil disobedience, non-cooperation, political organizing, mass movements. The British learned from 1857. So did the Indians. Violence brought overwhelming reprisal. So they tried nonviolence. Individual uprising brought individual punishment. So they built mass movements. Military rebellion brought military crushing. So they built political pressure. 1857's failure taught the strategy of success. The unmarked graves remain, scattered across northern India. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi. Bodies blown from cannons have no graves. Bodies thrown in wells have no markers. Bodies left in streets have no ceremony. Mass graves dug quickly. Lime poured over corpses, covered with dirt. The locations are known locally, passed down through families. This is where grandfather's uncle was hanged. This is where the village was burned. This is where the executions happened. The stories persist. The British archives are silent on many details. They record the official executions, the courts-martial, the big battles. They do not record every village burned, every civilian hanged, every body blown from a cannon. These are details. Necessary actions. Restoration of order. Not worth recording in detail. The gaps in the archive are telling what is not written, what is not counted, what is not remembered officially. That is where the real history lives. The last piece of evidence surfaces decades later. A soil sample from the site of Wheeler's entrenchment at Cawnpore, analyzed for heat retention, for fire damage, for blast patterns. It confirms the artillery bombardment described, confirms the duration, confirms the intensity. A single well at Bibighar is excavated in the 19th century. Skeletal remains confirm the massacre, confirm the numbers roughly, confirm that most victims were women and children. And the well is sealed, the memorial built. The site becomes contested, British memorial, then Indian memorial, then neutral memorial. The archaeology is subordinate to the politics. Truth is subordinate to narrative. The final British soldier who participated in suppressing 1857 dies in the 1920s. The final Indian survivor dies sometime in the 1930s. The living memory ends. What remains is documentary evidence, archaeological evidence, oral traditions, contested histories. The debate continues. Academic conferences are held, papers are written, books published from all perspectives: British perspective, Indian nationalist perspective, subaltern perspective, feminist perspective, post-colonial perspective. Each adds layers. Each reveals something new. Each challenges previous narratives. The history is never finished, always being rewritten, always being contested. This is appropriate. 1857 deserves complexity, deserves nuance, deserves multiple perspectives. What it does not deserve is simplification or forgetting. The judicial brutality of the British Empire in 1857 was not an aberration. It was policy. Documented policy, approved from the highest levels. Governor General Canning knew. Commander-in-Chief knew. The officers knew. The soldiers knew. and they proceeded anyway, because the alternative in their minds was losing India, losing the empire, losing everything they had built over a century. So they used every tool available, including terror, including torture, including spectacle execution. They called it justice. They called it military necessity. They called it restoration of order. But these are just words. The reality was systematic violence, calculated to break the spirit of rebellion, to ensure it never happened again. And it worked. For 90 years it worked, until it did not. Until the empire fell anyway. Not to violence, to political pressure, to international condemnation, to unsustainability. The brutality of 1857 bought time. But it did not buy permanence. When the memorial at Bibikar was finally removed in 1964, workmen uncovered something beneath the foundation. A boundary marker, stone, carved, dated to 1857, marking where the original massacre site ended, where the killing happened. This marker was never recorded officially, never photographed, never cataloged. It existed in the ground, waiting. When it was uncovered, it was photographed once, then destroyed. Too controversial, too contested, too dangerous to keep. The photograph survives in an archive in Lucknow, rarely viewed, rarely discussed. But it exists. Physical proof that the site was marked, that someone tried to record the exact location. That even in 1857, someone knew this would matter later. That memory would matter. That truth would matter. The marker is gone. The photograph remains. The history remains, incomplete, contested, but undeniable. The British Empire judged Indian rebels with cannon fire, with nooses, with whips, with calculated humiliation. They called it justice. History calls it something else.